Good morning. Blessings and good morning. Welcome to the live stream for Sunday. This is Dawn. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm in my little house. The internet has been good, but it seems like it's better than last week. Hi, Pat. Good morning. You know what? I have my notes for what I want to talk about today. I'll be right back. You could see I strategically position myself so that bright window light, that's the east. So the sun's coming in right now, so it doesn't distort the colors too much. Hey, everybody. Hi, Janelle. Good morning. Hey, Sharon. Good morning. Polanco. Welcome, dear. Good to have you here. Hi, Amy. I just feel so grateful and honored to have each of you here each week. It's so lovely to know that I'm going to have this connection with all of you. And I really hope that, each week the transmission comes through to serve in some higher capacity for each of you. And I know that certainly some are more relevant than others for different people. So anyway, let's see, my hair is winging out over here. Okay, so let's ground and center, and then we're going to get started on today's theme. Hi, Usha, welcome. I hope that the dryer isn't making too much noise in the background. I'm getting ready to drive back to Sedona, so I've got, like my final little cleanup things to do today. So, okay. So our theme today is letting spirit guide you, recognizing intuition and following it. And so let us drop in to get, hi, Evelina, welcome. Welcome, welcome, sister. Okay, let's ground and center, get ready to receive the transmission. Okay, taking a nice deep breath in. If it feels good to do so, go ahead and close your eyes. Bringing your attention and intention to that in-breath and the out-breath. Breathing in through the nose, allowing, receiving the life force energy, and exhaling to allow and surrender everything you're ready to release now. Inhaling, coming deeper into the center of your being, feeling and knowing where that is for you right now. Exhaling to surrender and release all that you're ready to release, known and unknown, that will serve your highest purpose and intent for this now moment. And again, breathing in, welcoming that breath of life, welcoming the connection, the sisterhood, the web, the golden web of our connection as we share the breath across this earth. And exhaling to drop into that place where you are most at home and safe and able to receive the blessings of the present moment. Thank you. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hey, Paula, good morning. Okay, so the theme today is letting spirit guide you, recognizing intuition and following it. And I'm going to dive into that in a few moments, but I have a couple of announcements to make after I fix this little wing that's happening with my hair. It's winging out over here. Okay, it just wants to wing. We'll just let it do its thing. Okay. I have an exciting announcement, and it's not Return of the Priestess, so that's the second announcement. Next week, so next Sunday, after this, we start every Sunday at the same hour. The top of the next hour, I have a very special surprise for anyone who wants to attend. This is going to be a live Mother Mary transmission with my dear sister friend, Marguerite Rioglioso, PhD. So Marguerite, you may remember her from Return of the Priestess last year. She and I have become very good friends across the course of the year, meeting regularly with a couple of other priestesses to, support each other during these times. And how you have certain resonances with certain people, and her work and her scholarship very much aligns with my background my passions and this energy, this frequency of the Christed consciousness coming back onto the planet and awakening people. So her work with Mother Mary is really beautiful, and her book is about to launch, and it's called The Mystery Traditions of Miraculous Conception, Mary and the Lineage of Virgin Births. And that's what she spoke about in the last Return of the Priestess. So I've asked her to come on as a kind of a way to really take that energy and momentum of her launch of this book and bless our community with it. So here's how it's going to go. I'm going to be posting in our Facebook group probably tomorrow when I'm home and I have more time to focus on it, the link and a little bit more information, and I'm going to send it out in Wednesday's email newsletter. If you're not on my email newsletter and you want to be, private message me and let me know, and we'll add you to that. I think all of you who come to this regularly will be, but maybe if you watch this on YouTube or something, or BitChute, you might want to. So it's not, you don't have to sign up for it. It's totally free. That it's just an announcement and a link, and you just come onto the Zoom link. What I wanted to actually do was have her come on to our Facebook group live, and I don't know how. I don't know how to do it, and I don't have the bandwidth or the tech support to help me with that. If anyone knows how it's possible to bring someone else on a Facebook Live in a private group like this, please message me later. Don't leave it in here because after this I've got to pack up and go. So, but if you know how to do that, I don't even know if it's possible. So this was my alternative. I know how to manage Zoom. So we're going to go on to Zoom. So what you can do next week is come here. We'll spend our 45 minutes together, have a little break, and then click on that Zoom link that I'm going to share this week and here in the group and then in the email newsletter. And be prepared to receive a blessing activation transmission from Mother Mary through Marguerite. Okay, so that's the big announcement I wanted to share. Again, totally free. This is a gift to my community as a way of just, when you have certain friends and you feel that resonance and you have the opportunity to gift people, this is, what I want to do when I can. Okay, so that's that announcement. And then the 11th of April is when we'll start rolling out the invitations to register for Return of the Priestess 2. So we still have a little bit of time, and I've got a lot more work to do, so those aren't ready yet. But again, if you haven't marked your calendar yet, April 25th is our opening ceremony, and Marguerite will join us again then for a womb blessing, when we will be honoring our mothers, our ancestors, and the womb lineage, to bless it, honor it, release it so we can move forward. Okay, so those are my announcements, and I'm just going to check in with everyone. Hey, Judith, good morning. Sharon saying, yay, love her. Paula says, happy news. Yes. Okay, so let's go into today's topic. Letting Spirit guide you, recognizing intuition and following it. Now, this topic is because I did ask last week if anyone wanted to hear my story of how I got this land, my little house in the big forest. And, this is not the Dawn show. This is not just about me. So I always want to take, like, how can I contextualize this to be a message of service, right? I could just tell you my story. That's okay, I suppose. And I will tell you how I got it. But I want to use it as an illustration of the theme, which is recognizing intuition and following it. So that's our topic today. Okay. So let me tune in. I don't have my priestess stone with me. It's already packed. I feel a little naked. Okay. So letting Spirit guide us, being connected with our guidance team, our spirits, our higher self, the divine, is actually how I believe, were originally designed. For those of you who are familiar with the yugas in the Indian tradition, the ancient Indian tradition, there are yugas or periods of time that go in a circle. So there's the golden age. I don't have all the names down. And then it starts to descend until you get to Kali Yuga, which takes up the bottom segment of the wheel. And this is where humanity has descended into great disconnect from the divine. Uh, um, what's the words I want to say? Denigration, no, despotism, like the really lowest frequency of consciousness. And that's where we've been for, I don't know, a couple thousand years, something like this. And so we're just starting to come up out. Some people say we're just out of it. We're in the next yuga, Satya Yuga, I think, going back up. Either way, we know we've been in dense darkness, and we have in density as in slow frequency, as in deep disconnect from our higher self. But of course, those of us who came to the planet to herald in this new age, we are beginning to make those reconnections, right? But it's all wobbly. It's kind of like when you're trying to learn how to ride a bike, right? You can't get your balance at first, and you're like, you think you got it, and you fall down. That's where a lot of us have been at. Now, some obviously there's more people who are more psychic, and others more empathic, etc. But for the most part, um, we're relearning how to connect with guidance. And let us not forget that there was a very specific rollout at the depths of Kali Yuga to remove, torture, torment, and terrorize anyone who had these skills and abilities. I refer you to the witch burnings and to the massive murderous what do you call it, genocidal rollout across the planet of indigenous people and indigenous wisdom, those who held this power. This includes slavery, of course, because many of the indigenous, natural, more gentle people of Africa were the ones who got in that what do you call it, the East Africa. The more warring tribes were the ones who originally came and got some of those African people and then sold them to the white people, etc. So there has been, over the course of several hundred years, within the 20th, no, excuse me, from basically 1484 and before that, so the late Middle Ages, early Renaissance. Well, it's gone on longer than that because there were the Crusades before that were taking the Middle East and all the wisdom and the medicine, the doctoring and all the knowledge there too, astrology, etc. So it's been going on a long time. Let's just say it's been going on a long, long time. So we have to reclaim this now, which means we're wobbly. Okay, so how do we recognize it? And this was a question that I had for a long, long time. And I can't say that I've necessarily mastered it, but I definitely can get the feel now. The difference between guidance and the ego. Let's just start with that. Guidance is the still small voice that gently keeps nudging, nudging, nudging. It's usually positive in nature, and it's pulling you towards something. It's pulling you towards something. The ego tends to be louder and pushy and more in the negative fear motive, okay? More in the negative fear motive. So guidance, gentle nudging. You can find an obstacle comes in your way and you get through that. You think, oh, it's not meant to be. But that calling is still beyond it. It's still on the other side of whatever that obstacle is. Whereas the ego is more pushing, more fear-driven, louder, noisier, making the lists of pros and cons, all the reasons why you shouldn't or should do this that don't feel good inside necessarily. So that's the descriptor, right? But how that manifests for you is going to be unique a little bit to you. So I can tell you the overarching kind of flavor, but in order for each of us to be able to do this for ourselves, we have to be clear enough. We have to be like the shamans call the hollow bone, or what I call the empty vessel, the chalice that can receive that. And how do we do that? Same things I always say. forgiveness work, shadow work, and consistent spiritual practice, i.e., meditation. If we don't have the tool of turning within to listen to the still small voice, it's going to be very hard to listen to it. We have to develop, cultivate those spiritual practices, particularly, I believe, I really feel meditation that lets us turn turn to our inward light or turn our light within. That, along with shadow work, and the more trauma you have from this incarnation, or we could say soul trauma signature from other incarnations, the more noise you're dealing with in your external reality on a day-to-day basis, the more busyness, the more important it is to do the inward turn and to do the shadow work, the healing work. Otherwise, trauma is going to respond. Hidden, buried, shadow material that's reacting in defense and protectiveness for you is going to make the decision instead of the wisdom, the guidance, okay? So being that clear channel vessel requires us to go inward, to have a regular spiritual discipline, and to do that shadow work to heal, clear, transmute, and integrate any trauma in this, lifetime, incarnation's timeline or your soul's timeline. That's what's going to let you be quiet enough to hear the still small voice and to recognize its distinct difference between that and the ego. And again, also, if you have a busy life, a noisy life, a lot of kids in the house, or many jobs, many things you're juggling, it requires discipline to do this work. The path of the priestess is not a lifestyle choice to frolic in the forest, as one of the priestesses I interviewed, Dion Ruff Sloan. Oh, you'll love her. She's great. She's an incredible oracle. Anyway, she talks about that. We were giggling about it because she's very much about the practical priestess, and this idea of like the flowing gowns in the forest, that can happen, but it really comes down to day-to-day life, the day-to-day disciplines. So, okay, so that's that. Okay. We are always connected with our guidance team. We are never alone. We're always connected with what you would call the Holy Spirit or Divine Mother, the feminine face of God, and we're always connected with our spirit guides. Trouble is, because we've been in such dense incarnations for so long with all that trauma in the lineage, trauma in our personal lives maybe, from childhood, etc., the obstruction is more on our end. It's like, if you've got two people talking on the phone and one has a clear line, but the other doesn't, or we see this a lot in Zoom, right? Someone drops off the line when you're watching an interview or something like that. So that's why we have to do the work on our end, because Spirit is there waiting to guide us. And of course, that leads to the final piece, which is asking for that guidance, asking. They can't intervene unless we ask for help. So asking is always a good idea. Please, Spirit, guide me to show me the right choice here. Now, I have used tarot cards for years as an oracle, as a way. One of my favorite ways to use the tarot is to make decisions. However, the tarot, the oracle is only as good as the oracle tool is only as good as the oracle, the being. So the more I do my inner work, the more clarity I get with my own readings. Because if we're very vested egoically in one question over the other, one decision over the other, and we don't have the ability to step back into that sort of witness space and really surrender and let Spirit guide us, then the energy we're putting into the cards as we shuffle, you can see I'm doing all my, my Italian, I got to use my hands, right, to talk. The energy we put into that shuffling is going to have all of whatever that distortion is, ego, fear, trauma, vested interest in a certain thing, worry, et cetera, et cetera. So we can use tarot, for example, or other oracle tools. Like some people are really good with the pendulum. This has sadly not been my gift. I've given it a few tries. Maybe I will again one day. It just doesn't seem to work for me well, or I don't work with it well. Maybe as I get more clear, I will. Um, so this is when it's good to go to another reader, right? This is when we're very vested in something, we want to get clarity. It's good to go to another reader. So where was I going with that? Yeah, so just again, getting guidance. How do we distinguish guidance? Yes, we could use tools like tarot, like pendulum. Just remember, the oracle tool is only as good as the clarity of the oracle itself, which I, I mean to say you. Okay, so what else? What else wants to be shared before I tell my little story here? I think I'm just going to share now the story and kind of illustrate these points. Okay, so when everything started happening last year in March, so it's really just over a year now since the global lockdown, and um, I knew right away, I knew even before that, that this was a BS, this was a global attempted planetary takeover. And it was pretty scary to me because I could see, like, holy crap, they got the whole world. Oh my goddess, this is way worse than I thought. They have way more power than I realized. And then over the course of the year, I discovered more and more scary stuff, the children, et cetera, et cetera. And I watched certainly this country divide, and I watched um, my own dreams go down the toilet because I'm an international traveler and I spend a lot of time in Southeast Asia. And I saw those of us who were in the truth movement knew right away that they were going to they're going to, I mean, Kill Bates said it, that they're going to try and inject everyone with a fake V that's going to, supposedly set us free. So I knew from the beginning that I had a lot of inner work to do. And I was heartbroken, but I kept hoping, I kept hoping that things wouldn't be as bad as I thought. And that hasn't turned out to be the case. So now, at the very beginning of all of this, before the launch of Return of the Priestess 1, I was still mourning the land that I owned in New Mexico with my ex-husband 12 years ago. It was a rising and a rising and a rising in me. And I was called to the forest, but I had all this grief. So finally, one day, I asked my husband, who's very good at holding space because he does work with men and groups and stuff, would you just hold the space for me and let me verbally walk you through my land that I had and grieve it? Because I need to let it go. It's an obstruction in my life and it hurts. So we did that. And I thought, great. Now I can move to Southeast Asia. Yeah. No. What kept arising was more and more evidence that that was going to be a possibly risky maneuver. Remember, I have elderly parents in the United States, and there was this continued promise or threat of an injection that could be require one to travel. All throughout all of this, what kept coming up in my mind is land with water, land with water, land with water. So finally and I was like, I don't have any money. I just got myself out of debt. I do okay, but I don't have anything saved. I can't, land with water, land with water, land with water. So finally I saw a little ad in the newspaper and I said, and it was like really cheap land. I'm like, Doug, we have to go on a road trip. We're going to a road trip to the other side of Arizona, and we're going to look at this cheap land. Maybe there's something for us, because this insistence of land with water, land with water. So in like May, I think we went out there. Oh, it was terrible. It was no wonder it was so cheap. It was terrible land, nothing that I would want to walk on. But we took a drive one day. We did this big loop and we came down through this area where I am now, which I knew about from when I was looking for land with my ex-husband. And the only reason we didn't buy land down here is because it was too far away from our business in Santa Fe back then. But I loved it here. I always loved it here, this area. But I thought, oh, I don't have any money. But I kept, so I was like, okay, we looked. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of put it on the back burner. It just kept insisting, no matter what I was going throughout the days and weeks and months, land with water, land with water. Well, in the process, I started making all this money. And because we weren't traveling, we weren't doing anything, we weren't going to restaurants, we weren't doing anything, all of a sudden we started saving, both he and I, all of this money. Like not $1 million, okay? It's still a humble amount. But for us, it was like, wow, I got this like nest egg building over here. So I got called to come here to this area and look around. And here's how it went. I was like, look, I got $50,000. I want a piece of land that I could eventually put a well in and hopefully build a house one day. I just have to, this is what I've got. I met the realtor who helped me with this, who's absolutely this incredible woman, incredible, spiritual, devoted, beautiful woman. I just like soul sister, right? Her intuition guides her to this place, even though this was 3 times as much as I had to spend. We looked at a couple places. I'm like, nah. And we saw this place and I was like, how much is this? Oh, I don't want to get a mortgage. I don't even know if I can. I'm a self-employed, So, okay, so then we come and stand on the porch and we start talking about the world, everything that's going on. And all of a sudden I feel all these angels around both of us and we both start to cry and we hug. I just met this woman like an hour before. So I go back and I try and get a mortgage, can't get a mortgage. I self-employed, this single wide type home is the hardest thing to get a mortgage for. I give up. I'm like, okay, Spirit, you don't want me to get this. It's okay. I'll surrender that too. I've surrendered Thailand. I've surrendered Southeast Asia. I will surrender this too. And land with water, land with water. And then all of a sudden, all these magical friends start coming in. Money friends, accountant. I had a meeting with my accountant for something totally else. Another friend who self-employed and got a mortgage. And all of them were like, you can do this, Dawn. That's your land. Psychic readings, that's your land. That's your land. I was like, okay. So I went back like 4 times. My credit score was really high. It just plummeted because I had 4 pulls because I was trying to get this mortgage. Well, finally, one package. There's only one package that this one mortgage broker could find that's for single wides for self-employed people. And I got it. And as soon as we got under contract, many people came to try and buy this property with cash, but we were already in contract. And I can tell you that the couple really wanted someone who loved this land. It was as if they built it for us. It's incredible. Squeaky clean, impeccably cared for, well loved. And they went above and beyond, leaving me furniture. I mean, you see this furniture back behind me there? There's couches. They left all of it for us because they didn't need it. The chair I'm sitting on, the table, the beds, the laundry, all of it here. I paid a lot less than they invested in this place. It was a divine blessing. And the well on this property, extraordinary. The water flow is incredible. And I am literally right next to the forest. 33 million acres. No, 3.3 million? A lot. More than I could ever walk in a lifetime of my favorite forest. So there you have it. That's my story. How does that apply to you? That's the important thing. It's always nice to hear stories. How does it apply to you? What are the takeaways that we can glean from this? One is that I kept getting the thing, land with water, no matter what I did. When I thought I can't, when I was like busy having a pity party for myself out in the forest up in Arizona near where I live, because I got the word that I didn't get the mortgage the first time, even then, land with water, land with water, land with water. And the magical people coming in. So it came in on many, many levels. And I did a lot of prayer. And of course, you know, I'm very dedicated to my spiritual practice. I'm very dedicated to my Course in Miracles, to doing my forgiveness work, to looking at where do I have shadow? Oh, catching myself if I'm holding judgment against another and immediately offering them a blessing and looking at where it's triggering me. All of that stuff is stuff that I do consistently, not to gain a specific thing like land with water, but for my own peace and for my own ascension process, and because I really want to get off this wheel of samsara here on planet Earth, and be in service to my sisters and brothers on Earth. But that gets me the clarity, and then following the signs, They kept coming over and over and over again. So in this time, so now let's shift a little bit here. In this time on Earth, people are being called, some of us, not everyone, and I know some of you on here are some of them who have been called to relocate. You're recognizing that the location where you are is no longer fitting to you. And that could be for any one of a number of reasons: a change of job or a loss of job, a loss of passion for it, too much chaos, wanting to get out of the city. It could be anything. Trust that that's part of the process right now. What's happening is that those of us who are, our intention is to hold the field of love through the chaos that's unfolding now and is going to get more intense in the several years to come. To get with communities, to connect with a location, a place, and anchor that light. So come to find out, here in this community where I am, it's a cowboy community. I mean, not everyone's like, you don't have a bunch of priestesses walking around, but what you have are organic farmers, organic, like local farmers, not like big farmers, who are saving seeds, people who recognize that there is a big shift that's going to happen, and so they're homesteading, or they're, you know, they know that they need to get out of bigger cities or larger communities and come and literally prepare the land for self-sufficiency, prepare themselves for self-sufficiency. And they understand the bigger arc of what's going on the planet. And they know how to garden, and they know how to hunt, and they know how to fish. They know how to take care of themselves. They know how to repair. They know how to build. That's where I was called to. But I know of other people who are looking to build a community in different parts of the world. I'm Costa Rica, Panama, Florida, Texas, I'm sure everywhere. So you might feel this call as well, or not. But the way to know is to do what we talked about at the beginning, which is, you know, do your inner work, listen for those still small voice that's guiding you, whether it's making a change in a job, making a change of location. And big change can trigger the ego that says, you can't do that. Like mine was, I don't have any money for that. I can't do that. And even when the realtor showed me this place, I was like, well, I don't want to get a mortgage, so forget about it. It wasn't until we stood on the porch in a very, very much in a loving, connected way, talking about what's going on the planet, that I felt all the angels around me. And that was it. I was like, yeah, this is my house. I think this is my house. Oh my goddess, I think this is my house. So, and then there were obstacles, right? There were obstacles, but still, like, allies and support and things came in. And that's how it unfolds. That's how it unfolds when we follow the guidance. So going within, doing the inner work is going to be so, so important. I mean, it is anyway for our ascension process, but to be able to make those discernments, because they're, you know, the angels don't come down from on high with the bugles. We have an announcement for you. It's time for you to move. It's time for you to change jobs. It's time for you to become the spiritual teacher you dream of being. It doesn't work that way, because we are sovereign. We are learning how to reclaim our own authority of our lives, our own divine truth. And our guidance team helps us, but we have to be the initiators, the action takers, the decision makers, the reclamation of our sovereign ability to choose our destiny is our God goddess quality that we are reclaiming. So that's how it's done, to the best of my knowledge, anyway. So, okay, go ahead. I'm going to look here. I see some comments coming in. If you have any questions, let's dive into that. Let me have a look here. Usha says we have not been in Satya Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, but are raising to this Yuga now, I believe. Okay. Kalug is what you're calling it. Is that a different Indian language, Usha, that means Yuga? Or was that spell check? Hey, Ella, welcome. Uta, hi. Dawn, you are the pest. I hope you mean the best and not a pest. Exactly what I needed to hear today. Wonderful, wonderful. Agni says, Portugal, we are rising here. Yay! I have heard that there are great communities there, and I would love to hear more about that. If there's anything you want to share, Agni, about that, please do so. Either here or, especially if there's anything with the Divine Feminine, share it in the group or share with me privately. I'm very interested in that, not because I'm interested in traveling there myself until we get past whatever nonsense they're going to roll out, but I know of some people who are interested in Portugal who might be interested, so who are very much in this priestess conscious community. So please let me know. Usha says, that's amazing. So pleased for you, and I understand this. I believe we are led to where we are meant to live, as I had a similar experience when we bought my home. Now, except I didn't hear the voice, but felt it when I viewed the house. Yeah, like I felt the angels. We didn't put the offer in as it was too expensive, but told the agent, if it comes back on the market, let me know. And amazingly enough, I was off at home one day and got a call from the agent, and cutting the story short, we bought it paying a lower price that was affordable to us. So I do believe we are led to where we are meant to be. All the best in your new land. Thank you, Usha. Thank you for that story. Perfect illustration, right? Same magical thing. She felt it, and yet the external 3D presentation said, no way. But she trusted her guidance and said, hey, if it should come back on the market at a lower price, would you let me know? And wow, there it was. Agni says, very inspiring. Thank you. I'm going to tell you another story here of how I may have shared this before, so my apologies if this is a repeat. I want to give time for anyone who wants to ask questions or comments. When the house that we live in now, we only rent in Sedona, and the house we live in now, we did it. We've been there 7 years, and it has been wonderful. Our landlords are like, we love them. They're wonderful. We just never got the call to buy. We couldn't at the time, but I also knew, because the way Sedona is, Sedona pulls you in to do transformational work and then often spits you out. Not everyone is meant to stay in Sedona. And I knew that already. So I was like, no, we're not going to try and go through hoop jumping to try and buy something, especially because my husband had just quit his long-term job to move there and start a real estate career. So anyway, it's been a wonderful house for us in many, many ways. The way we got it. This is another way you can use sort of magic intention to create what you want, to call in what you want. But then you got to surrender attachment to how it shows up. We sat down and we each drew a picture with some words, and neither of us are artists, right? But we drew a picture of the ideal house for us. And we wrote, we wrote in it what, things that we wanted: a 2-car garage and, an office space and lots of sun and backyard with trees. I wanted a casita, but that didn't work out, but that's okay. So, and then we went and filled out applications for the 2, what do they call them? Like the agencies that help place people in rental units. And what happened was we looked, and then you look, so then we started taking action. So we created those things, we stuck them on the refrigerator, and we kind of let it go. And then we just started looking, because it was months before it was time for us to move anyway. And then one day we started building a relationship with these rental agents. One day, one of the rental agents contacted my husband and said, I got this property. It's about to go on the market. Let me show you the link to it. We looked at it, and I took one look at the front of the house and I said, that's the house. That's the house. And we immediately went through the process, put down the deposit. We had to pay for an extra month because we weren't ready to move yet, but we knew that was the place. And we had, saved the, last deposit, like that whole hunk you got to put down. And then, like half a year later, we met the landlord, and it was incredible. It was like, you got to be kidding. This is our landlord. He's like the perfect person for us. So, and his wife too. So anyway, that's another way that you can create if you know what you want. Like you want a new car, or you need a place to move, but you don't know where or what community. You can create it's like a vision board, basically. You could do it as a vision board too. You create it, you put a lot of love. We did it in a ceremonial setting with great intention and prayer. We blessed these pictures. It was a whole ritual. And then we put them there, and then we let go, move on with our days, do our work, get our work, regular life. And then trust that it will come. And taking that action of looking regularly too. It isn't like we did nothing after that. We did, we would look obviously at the, rental units in Sedona. So that's another story. So we have some interesting other comments coming in here. Let's see. Pat says, I'm looking for a home to bring my husband's mother with us. We found a beautiful home, but it didn't have a good feel to it. The one we're in felt instantly bright and happy, and everything fell into place. Yeah. This is our intuition, our access to our guidance, our higher self, our more multidimensional self coming back online when we feel the truth of something. Agni says, it's a paradise on earth, really. Weather, peace, permaculture, spiritually involved sisters and brothers. Many people come here now. A lot of divine feminine work as well. I came here recently and also created sacred space here. Okay, so and then she leaves a link. Thank you, Agni. I'm going to look at it myself, and then I'm going to forward it to my sister friend who's considering Portugal. Paula says, I live with my daughter and 8-year-old grandson. I found the house we lived in currently by feeling for it. My daughter was in resistance, but we looked at and discovered it was a lease to buy. In a fast 48 hours, she reached out to the owner with a personal letter asking Spirit to guide us. Beautiful. Yeah, another beautiful example. The feeling, she felt her way into it, and that really is where we are going. That's the evolution. That's one example of the evolutionary shifts we're about to make after, many of us are already in it, but on the other side of however many years, 3-5 years of chaos, tumult, changes, earth changes, population changes, the other side of it is going to be the more multidimensional human. We might not be in the full, we're not going to be in the golden age. We may have to reincarnate for that. But I believe we're going to see where people are going to be living more in this way, more people. Sharon says, hi, Agni, where in Portugal are you? I've been hearing a call to move there. Yeah, so that would be great, Agni, if you share that. Usha says, I believe Kalug means the time we are in. Yeah, it's kind of like short between Kali and Yuga. I've only seen it as Kali Yuga, so maybe that's just the English translation. We are in the Aquarian age, and I can't remember the Kalug name we are in now. Sorry, that's okay. It might be Satyuga. I'm not sure. Paula says, fast forward, she's on track to close by May 1st. Okay, so this is the rest of your story, Paula. I thought you were in that house already. So this is the rest of Paula's story about her daughter reaching out to the realtor to rent to own. She's on fast track to close by May 1st after leasing for 2 years. She's even sponsored the owner's wife for her to get a green card. It's all about love. And that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? It's all about love. Love as frequency. Love as the divine moving through us in the experience of care for ourselves, for others, for our community, etc. Oh, sisters, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So remember, next week we'll have our same time here. I'll come on live here. But then after that, we'll have about a 10-15 minute break, depending on what I talk about and how long it takes. And then you are welcome to join me on Zoom with Marguerite to receive a Mother Mary transmission. So I do hope you will join us then and join me then. And in the meantime, have a blessed week. I have an incredibly busy week this week. I'm interviewing a lot of priestesses for Return of the Priestess 2 this week, plus my clients, plus interviews for the retreat I'm hosting in May. So you probably won't see me that much on Facebook, but know that I hold you all in my prayers and blessings, and you will definitely see me next Sunday. So have a blessed day and a blessed week. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for letting the spirit of love move through you in your life as we all rise to a higher consciousness and lift our sisters and brothers of earth as we do so. Thank you. Mwah. Many blessings. We'll see you soon.